Yes, hello and welcome to today's presentation on digital information twin, how the right product information can dramatically increase your revenue. My name is Tobias Janka. Together with my colleague Klaus Reichenberger, we will show you how not only medium-sized companies like KUKA, ABB, Wirth, Hilti or Doppelmayr from Austria, but also large enterprise companies like Airbus, BMW, Daimler, or Siemens have created new business models and processes with Empolis Content Express that offer completely new digital solutions. But we also show you how you can turn your customers into real fans with a perfect product experience. Why? Because we have the solution for this. With Empolis Content Express, you can easily take relationships into account, create links using a variety of parameters, or simply identify the right products. Content Express is the information platform for all customers, for all customer contact points with the products. We will organize this presentation into 5 parts. First, we talk about the motivation of implementing a project. After we show you the implementation by using a small practical example. In addition, we summarize again the importance of the knowledge graph, the heart of Empolis Content Express, and give you a specific suggestion as to how we can conduct a small test with you with your personal data and set up a prototype. So much for the course of the presentation. We will now start with the first item on the agenda. I will hand over to Klaus.
Thank you, Tobias. Now, why is this important? You probably all have complex technical products in your enterprise that need explanation. And who explains these products to the customer? Usually the sales people do that. Now, in our world of digital channels, increasingly there is no salesperson to explain the product to the customer. The customers are on their own with the product. So who does that job? The product has to speak for itself. The product has to sell itself in the digital channel. We like to talk about the digital twin of the product, the digital information twin. In order to do that, what capabilities does the digital information twin has to have? How can it do that? Now, it first of all has to know about the product, about the features of the product, about the components of the product. It also has to know about the users, the customers, and their needs. What are the typical applications? What is the environment for the typical usage of the product? And while many enterprises have a good grip on their own product data, knowing about the customer is more ambitious, and most ambitious of all, and that really requires a good salesperson to do the translation between the two worlds. So you all have had this experience when you're buying a product that you're not really experts in. For example, you're a non-IT person buying a computer. You can only state that you doing Office, browsing in the web, and once in a while playing Age of Empire. And then if the sale isn't done right, you're confronted with clock speeds and processors and graphic cards and megabytes and gigahertz and stuff like that. That's not the right way to sell. You need a good salesperson needs the capability to explain all the features in context of your needs. Should only talk about gigahertz when it's important for your needs, and basically do this translation. And this is something that the digital twin in the digital channels also has to do. Before we see that in a live example, maybe quickly some additional requirements that we often find. You all know that the number of channels is growing each day. That's a good thing. You have more channels to offer your products on, but also requires more work. You have to cater to more channels, and you don't want to do that by writing and editing and structuring your product data for each channel. You need a central source of truth, a single source of truth that provides your product data to all of these channels. And another important aspect, it's always more product data because it's always more products. You have more and more variants to your products. You have more and more complexity in your products, personalization in your products. That's another aspect that you have to keep in mind. But enough talk. We should look at that in a small demo, and that's easy for me to say because I can hand over to Tobias to actually show you a small live example. Tobias.
Yes, thank you very much, Klaus. I hope you can see my audio right now. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to show you an example of this digital information twin idea, even if it might come from a different area for one of the other of you. It's important that we show you an example from real life, from real practice here. Here in this demo, we have put together something from various projects that we have recently implemented with our customers. So one can say we have packed different use cases into a small demo system. And this demo system is now about robots, or more precisely about a robot kit. So the first challenge we show is that most of the time customers don't even want to deal with the details of the products, but they say my task is the following and I want to do that with that or these products. And of course, this is what they can describe very well. And which features, which size, which materials, or which design is necessary for this. This is a matter for the manufacturer. They want the manufacturer to tell the customer that. According to this principle, the customer now selects in this demo a suitable robot arm in the robot demo kit. So to do this, I describe here the application in drilling. So that means the robot arm should be designed so that I can drill. Then the customer has to select which material he would like to drill, in this case, concrete. And then I can also specify which diameter or which span I would like to drill. Here, maybe I choose a diameter of 8 to 12 millimeters and a depth of 100. So that's all the information I want to give here right now. Now I just click on save, and then from maybe 50 different modules, the system shows 2 models that fit my needs, namely those two here. And why they fit and how they fit is precisely stored in the knowledge graph or the digital information twin. And now let's take a look at that. I choose the first one. There are now parts here. I'm concentrating on the lower part first. I have this module 9AY, and that consists of a drilling arm and a drill that is assembled on it. And in this combination, I can, of course, drill with it, but also a specific material, namely concrete. And if I combine these two components and the material concrete, certain diameters and depths are possible. You see this here in the red triangle. And with these requirements I had here, my requirements are comfortably within the range covered. And that is why the system says here, yes, this combination is possible, because I had a depth of 100 and a diameter of 8 to 12. So this is comfortably in my range. So this means it is then partially stored in the digital information twin. The connection, I can combine these two components, drill arm and drill, and the combination of the two components is then good for a certain material, concrete. That is all stored in the knowledge graph. Whether the diameter and the depth fit my requirements is then calculated dynamically, used by rules in the knowledge graph. And this is what we see here in the graph. Now, that the system has automatically selected the right robot arms for my specific application, I have another option, namely with the exact same information that I used here in the selector, I can support configuration. And on the left side here, we show you a simple robot configurator. If the customer selects now different components here, in our use case, maybe change the head from a stabilizer to a small head, then the system or the system shows you an error message directly. So the system can say which components now fit together and which components don't fit together. So I use the head with the stabilizer again. So on the and namely, which is perhaps also interesting, I cannot say things are compatible, things are not compatible, but at the moment you have to look now on the right side here at the demo. At the moment, when I'm here in the configuration and change components, so I say I don't have a smooth surface, so now my robot has to use the Caterpillar drive, then the specification of the overall product also changes. For example, here the price, the speed, because it is not permanently stored for a specific combination, but it is determined dynamically from the combinations of the components. And that's how it is determined by just clicking those units. Then there is in reverse to the case that we just had. So where from my task went out as a customer and can also say the other way around, for the specific combination, it can be calculated for which application it is a good fit. So in this situation, the robot is still suited to do the job and or what the customer wants to do. I see that here on the right side. in our example, our robot now is very well for clearing work. And that is then back in the knowledge graph stored in this digital information twin. In this case, for example, it is important I choose the head with a stabilizer because it's good, because there are some vibrations, and you see vibrations are always on clear or oftentimes on clearings work, and you have a rough terrain, so this is a good combination. And maybe you have some slide bearings because they are good, because on clearing work there's a lot of dirt. And that is then back in the knowledge graph, stored in the digital information. Or it's good that or to say, I have a model, so to speak, which gives me the information about it, or what the information contains, which combinations are possible, and which specification of my product has to match the specification of my application. And the system can then dynamically calculate the components which fit. And I can then use that, of course, to calculate a very specific configuration for the customer, or for your own sales reps, and give them access to all suitable parts. Or B, I can use that to simply save myself work. So that's what our customers do. They say, I don't want to manually document and describe all possible combinations and all variants, but I want it to be assembled automatically. Our customers who actively use this sometimes have very, very urgent use cases that simply have thousands of combinations and variants. So they have to use such a dynamic generation. And maybe that's the case with you too. Finally, a quick step into the topic of cross-selling. The system now knows that what my task is, and suggests suitable components or products to me, or informs me whether the project is suitable for this job. Then, of course, it can still suggest additional products for this activity, which I, as a supplier, can offer my customers in these contexts. So here we still have the breaching example, the clearings work. Here are two components, service products suggested by the system, namely the grease gun and the multimeter. And why are they suggested by the system now? I click here on the graph symbol, and it's quite simply because I have a clearing operation. There's a lot of dirt here, so frequently greasing is necessary, and the grease gun is suitable for greasing the relevant component, namely the caterpillar drive. So much for demonstrating the topic in a small, simple demo. Klaus now will show you or will wrap up this topic and once again explain why the knowledge graph, the heart of Empolis Content Express, is particularly well suited to such a challenge.
Thank you, Tobias, for this impressive demo. What have we seen here? We have seen the capabilities of the digital twin or the knowledge graph that are needed to really represent your products in their complexity, your product logic. So for example, whether two components fit together. And we have seen that this is partly networked information in the graph. So for example, if you want to know whether in this example the arm fits the body, you have to look whether they have a common thread size, whether the electronic components work together, the sensor of the arm and the controller in the body should be able to talk to each other through a common protocol. That's all networked information. But what Tobias also showed you was you often have quantitative properties of your products and your components. So you have weights and sizes and load factors and stuff like that. In this case, the weight of the two arms combined should not exceed half of the weight of the body. If not, things become unstable. So you need this kind of information, this kind of representation of the product logic to be able to feed configurators with your knowledge graph, and to be able to automatically do the combinations and do the descriptions of the composed products of all the variants. And we've seen that you need to represent not only the product logic, but also the things that your customers are doing with your product. So the customer needs, they relate to functions. For example, clearance work, often dirty, often high vibration, needs specifically designed components with specific functions. And once you represent that in a knowledge graph, you can tell the customer which configuration is ideally suited for her or his problem, and you can do cross-selling as you want the suggestions that you make in cross-selling. You want them to be fitting to the customer's needs, and you also want them to fit to what the customer has already configured. So they have to match the product, and they have to know about compatibility, and they have to match what your customers want. We have not been talking about one, or at least not in detail about one thing. Why do you need all this network information, these rules on quantitative product properties? Why not just simply list all the compatible components and do everything by hand? Sounds like less complexity. Maybe to show that, we would like to look at really briefly at one customer example. You may have heard the talk from Andreas Berschneider and Stefan Reinheimer from Siemens and BIC today. If not, and you would like to listen in, please contact us. We're happy to make that talk available to you. And here they were talking about, it was a great presentation with really interesting and great benefits, huge number of channels that they serve from their digital twin, even including technical documentation and certificates. And right now, I just want to pick out one small aspect of that, because when they started a couple of years ago, they were imagining these benefits, but they were also seeing that, yeah, that's quite an effort to build up this digital information twin. How about the effort? And doing some calculations, they actually saw that they could save a lot of effort by introducing this information twin. They are doing industrial components, switches and buttons and stuff like that for industry. And these electrical components that they sell, they have often a huge number of subcomponents. So, for example, this button has a holder and a labeling plate, and the button itself, and the socket, and many components that you have to stick together to actually have a product that you can use. and with many possible variants, many possible options for the color here, for the material of the holder, for the type of socket and the connection that the socket offers and the size, you end up with thousands and thousands of combinations for each of the products that they offer, millions in total. And here it was pretty obvious that you don't want to really describe all the combinations, all the possibilities, and the resulting combined product properties for each of these configuration possibilities or each of these configuration variants. So you had to do that rule-based. You had to do that through the product logic in the digital twin. And you had to invest a little bit of knowledge about how to assemble a product description for a combined product out of the individual components. For example, if you want to state what color is the push button, nobody's interested in the color of the holder or the socket. You want to know what color is the button itself. So this is red push button. If you want to know what the materials of the combined product are, you have to sum up, you have to assemble all materials of all the components. On the other hand, if you want to know what the protection class of the combined product is, you don't need the union. You need those that are common to all components of the product. So you have to invest a little bit of logic, but in the end, the customer here was able to save person years of editing work just by intelligently assembling, intelligently combining product information and automatically doing the variants here. Just a small customer example. Back to, before we wrap up the entire presentation, back to Tobias with a possibility of how can you actually start such a project yourself.
Thank you, Klaus, for this example of the Siemens project. Now we are almost at the end of the presentation. One special opportunity for you, which has proven itself very well at Service Express for several years now, and is still well received, is the proof of value package. Now, what is this and what does the package include? Before starting a full Content Express project, we help you to pick up your stakeholders in advance and work out the benefits of the project in order to convince your management, your IT department, or your users with a practical example. So we start with an initial workshop and develop a common understanding of each other. On the other side, you also will develop an even better understanding of the new possibilities that Content Express can open up for you. And after we have provided, or you have provided us your data for the selected use case, we will set up your demonstrator for practice-oriented testing based on the workshop. And the setup for the demonstrator lasts about 2 weeks. And as a result of the workshop, we together analyze the effects on your KPIs, requirements, on your IT infrastructure, and so on. And then based on the demonstrator, we estimate the effort and time required to implement the overall project. And in a final retrospective, we receive or we review the use case, the achievable benefits, and before we hand over the demonstrator to you. The demonstrator itself is available for 3 months and is intended to help you to convince your stakeholders of the benefits of Empolis Content Express. And after the demonstrator test, you of course have the opportunity to take over the demonstrator for constant use. and convert Empolis Content Express into an annual contract for this. And we offer this proof of value package for a very attractive price of 4,950 euros. Feel free to talk to me about it. Together we can see how we can implement a project for you. Now we are almost at the end. Thank you very much for your presentation, for your participation. We hope you enjoyed this track, this presentation, and that we were able to show you ideas of new business models and processes. We are happy to deepen the conversation in a separate appointment. If you have any questions, just contact us, Klaus and me, directly. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much and wish you a great day and a great event.
Thank you.